Well, I'm back and I've been working off camera, of course, and I hope you have too, as we start knitting together our second top-down sweater. It's the second time around where we're going to work this really pretty lace together and then continue down. All right, I've given the 3 steps and it's really helping me. I'm so glad. So, this is step 1. We're finishing up step 1. Step 1 was we did the neck, and then I had you to knit down to the shoulders, but I asked that you would stop maybe a couple of increases before the number that you actually needed. For me, my number of increases is 26. 26 of these eyelet openings will give me the number that I'm trying to reach for the bottom of my sweater. So I've, of course, stopped at 24 because I wanted to come back and make sure that we're all on the same page and show you how we're going to stop, because I don't really want to wind up at the end when I get ready to do my underarm with still having the decorative eyelet rows. Let's see if you can see them. I don't want to have those holes, so I like to stop a couple of increases before and close them up, and this is how we're going to do it. All right, let me just double check that I'm in the camera frame. Okay. All right, I might have to take a few stitches in and see how it looks. All right, so here I am. I have, of course, I'm not going to repeat working the lace, so I hope you've worked the lace. Is that fun? Do you like how you're getting two sides done all at the same time, and they're reversed, and it's really pretty? So I hope you like that. So now I'm going to turn my work so that I can. So I finished the lace, and now I'm going across, and I'm ready to stop these eyelet rows. But also, now I can check my camera frame, see how I'm doing. Yep, I can come in just a little bit. Okay, so along with stopping the eyelet rows, my sleeve count on my first sweater was 60. And then for this sweater, since it was a nicer, dressier sweater, I deducted 4 stitches. And that's all you have to do in my knitting world, because my numbers are all compatible and rounded up to the number nearest divisible by 4. So my sleeve now is 56. So as I was knitting down the shoulders, getting ready to come to the end, I would stop every once in a while and count my sleeve count. And once I reached 56, and it was on at the 24th increase. Now I don't want to increase anymore in my sleeve, but the rest of the sweater I have to continue on for the next couple of increases. So here I am. This is what I think that's what I'm trying to say. I hope I didn't botch it too much. So I've knit across, and I know I have double counted. I have counted my sleeves. They're at the right number, 56. So this is the next increase, and I will not make. I will increase in all the other sections except my sleeves. So our previous increase, we knit over to the stitch right before the marker. Well, I'm going to knit over to 2 stitches before the marker. 1, and then there's the 2 stitches. All right, now to close off these little eyelet holes on this side of the marker, which is the front edge, I'm simply going to, in this stitch here, knit into the front and then rotate my needle and knit into the back of that stitch. I have increased by 1 stitch, but I did not make a yarn over. Does that make sense? Now you have to keep the spine or the center stitch. So now I knit the center stitch, okay, because I increased on the front edge. Now once I slide the marker, I'm in the sleeve zone. And since I have my 56, or of course if you didn't deduct anything, you just keep right on doing the increase. But you will do this increase. As soon as you slide the marker into this stitch, you will knit into the front and into the back, just like that, and then continue to knit across. But now I've already reached my number, so I do not want to do any kind of increase. So I'm going to take that out. I'm going to back out. So after I slide the marker to stop my increases in the sleeve, I just continue to knit across. No increases, nothing. But I do have to continue to knit till I, so now I'm gonna jump the, instead of wasting my battery, I'm gonna jump the camera ahead. Be back in just a sec. Alright, so I have knitted across my sleeve, and as I've said, I'm not increasing anymore into my sleeve. I'm happy with the number that at my 56. So in order to stop that, and in order to stop the eyelets again, I'm in the sleeve on this side. On this side of the marker starts my back. So I knit right up to the stitch. No increase, no yarn overs, nothing. Just by knitting across, I'm closing up these holes. So I just knit right up to the spine. Okay, I knit that. Now when I slide the marker, this is the back, and I want to continue to increase in the back because I have not reached my 26 increases. You got to continue to I have to continue knitting till I reach that number of increases. So, all right. So I need to. I don't want to do the yarn over. I want to stop these holes. So I go right to this stitch, very first stitch, after the marker. I knit into the front, rotate, and knit into the back of that stitch. Now I have increased, but I have closed off this eyelet row. And now I continue to knit across the back. Closing off the eyelet rows, but I'm still increasing. So I believe this is my increase number 25. As I'm working across, 24 was the number I needed to get to my 56 stitches in the sleeve. But now I'm closing I always say the last two, or you can do the last three. It doesn't matter. It's your sweater, how you want it to look. And that's when I try to close off when I'm working these eyelet type increases. So I will set the camera again. I will stop it, and then I will come back as I get to the opposite sleeve. Alright, I've knit over to across my back, and now I can see the next marker, which represents this sleeve on this side of my sweater. And so again, I just want to go over it again to make sure. So my back, I still have to increase, but I do not want the yarn over increases. So I come to 2 stitches before, can you see it? 2 stitches before the marker, and in this stitch I'm going to simply knit into the front and into the back, which makes an increase, but not with the yarn over eyelet holes. I want to close them off so that when I get to part 2 and we start working the underarm, I don't want to have to deal with these holes. It's a big pain in the neck. But now I have to keep that little center line going, so I knit into that stitch. Now when I slide the marker, okay, I'm in the stitch. I'm in my sleeve zone right here. All right, in the sleeve zone, all I have to do, I don't have to yarn over or knit into the front and back. I'm done. I'm happy with the stitch count I have, so I just start knitting across. So not only do I close up the eyelet holes just by knitting across, and I've stopped the increase in this sleeve as I go across to the other side. It's just that simple. And like I say, once our second time, and now when we do it again, I'll be able to have to explain less and less every time we do it. When I find a new pattern or a new way, then each time, because we do practically the same steps, but we just try to put something more exciting into for the design feature. And real quick, since I'm moving right along, I'm going to share this with you real quick. Okay, so one of my sweet friends on the YouTube, she was, oh, thank you all. First of all, thank everyone. Oh, Jay, I love the sweater. Oh, I've been waiting on this. Oh, when I got home, I was so surprised. I'm excited. I'm casting this on right now. Just like, well, thank you. So one of my friends said, "Oh, Jay, I just love this, but I'm working on this. She was working on one of my other designs. It's just I just can't keep up. I've got arthritis, and oh, Jay, I want to do it all." And I had to say, "Okay," and I'm saying not only to her, and I sent her back a message, but to you too. Let me just give you a little clarity. Okay. Jay is 71. My son put me on the YouTube, I guess, like a babysitter. Now I'm very independent. I don't have no problem. I lead a very independent life. I go what I want. I have my own money. I have my own credit. I have my everything. But you know how you just rely on your kids for technology stuff. Well, he found out if he put me on YouTube, it'd be like a babysitter. I think that's what he's trying to do. Anyway, so that must have been when I was around 64 somewhere, because I've been on here almost over 5 years now. One video. Remember, we were going to do one video. He was working on a project from Georgia Tech. Anyway. So, what was I saying? So now, but what I was trying to let her know, and for the people that follow me now, that I found my place, and for all new podcasters, or if you call yourself podcasters, I'm not, I'm a channel, I'm a YouTube channel. You know, it's going to take time to find where you're going to fit in. You know, I came on and I was giving shout outs to everybody, and I was trying to be, you know, with the young cliques and all that. Well, it didn't work out because I'm older, you know, and so, but I feel very happy now. That's not to be mean, to say anything mean. I'm just letting you know. So it's so exciting. Once I just kept plowing on, just kept on doing what I was doing, just doing what I felt God was letting me. This is what you do. This is where you are. You just do what you do, and He'll take care of the rest. So finally, now my audience, I have a good, nice, older audience that I love and that I'm a part of, a senior, as a senior. So I was letting her know, listen, when you come to me or come to knit and crochet with me, I want to be stress-free and relaxing and just have a laugh or two, because I know what you're going through, because I'm just like you. I have worked. I have been in offices. I have had corporate jobs. I have worked in a doctor's office, my last real job. I started sitting with people sick, people in hospice. You know, people would know me and say, and trust me, and Jay, would you come and help me? So I know what it is. I'm an everyday person just like you. I've cried in hospice as people were, as they were putting that last dose of medicine in them to, you know, as they succumb. And so I don't want to bring any stress. This is a relaxing time. And what I was telling her is, listen, I'm 71 now. I'm standing at door number 3. I've already lived door number 1 and door number 2, and a lot of you have too. So I'm trying to get as many projects up that's in my heart and in my head, and I've, felt led to design. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm not a big name designer. But my little things, they come to me, and I try to design my little things, and I'm sharing them with you on the YouTube. Well, I'm trying to get ahead. I'm trying to get as many as I can, because I know, like I said, I'm standing at door number 3. Arthritis has already broken into the door, one door. It slowly has creeped in, like some of you. Arthritis is already in your house, okay? And who knows, diabetes could be trying to get through the window to me. I don't know. We just don't know. I know sciatica, as I sit on this stool to try to make these tutorials, I can feel it running down my leg, people. I can feel it while I'm sitting here yet speaking with you. I can feel the sciatic because I'm sitting on a stool. The chair is too low, so I have this little stool. And I'm thinking, oh, Lord, sometimes I just barely can stand up once I finish. So, But you are not under pressure. This is not a race or a contest. I am simply trying to outrun whatever's trying to break in on my body to get as many of my designs up on YouTube. So when I'm not able, or just don't have the mind or the heart to do it anymore, or my body just can't, maybe do as much, look, you and me, we'll sit back and we'll watch my videos and laugh together. I can laugh at myself. And we can share the laugh. So that's why. So don't feel pressured to, oh my gosh, Jay's got another video I got to do. No, take your time. My things are here. They're up here. They're step by step so that you can take your time. I'm trying to stay ahead not only of you, but of, like I say, arthritis, sciatica, diabetes, whatever. Vertigo. My vertigo can't start to come back. I ate a little something. I don't know what happened. I don't know if I got too much sodium. That's why I don't eat out a lot, because I can't control the sodium. We don't really eat salt. Only salt that's already in the food, and I read labels very well, and I buy low sodium and no salt added foods. You'd be surprised how quickly you can, live with it not having that extra salt. I get salt because you got to have salt to keep your in balance. But I don't know that word. I hate to say it. Oh my God, if you ever had vertigo. I felt it one day. I was in my car and I was sitting at the red light, and all of a sudden, the way you know it is you're sitting there and all of a sudden everything seems like it's moving. But I know I had my foot on the brake and I know the light was red and I knew I wasn't moving. Oh, people. So when you come here, this is stress-free zone. This is a time to enjoy, to reflect, to fellowship. And I'm just knitting as much as I can so that I can stay ahead. And one day we will all sit back and have a laugh or two as we watch, and as I watch myself on the YouTube. What do you think of that? Does that make sense? Okay, so I was just using up a little time because this is going to be real short all right, so now you just continue across doing what we're doing, closing off these yarn overs. And when I come back, all right, so then you will continue. This will end part, am I on part one? Yeah, part one, the neck and the shoulders. Now, I probably should have had this on the first tape, but I was trying to get it up. So now we want to start part two. So when we come back, after you finish all your increases now that you know how to close off the yarn over holes, I just want to make sure of that. Then we will come back ready to show you how to take the sleeves. You will need at least, I like to go ahead and put my sleeves on the needles. I did the first one when I did with the scrap yarn because that's normal protocol that most instructors or people, use. But now we need to shortcut this, and I'm going to show you how we're going to shortcut it. I don't have time to do all that. Okay, now we're going to do some shortcuts. So have at least 2 of your number 9/16 needles ready. Have the cord already relaxed. I already gone through how to do that on your ironing board, and we will be ready to start. Step 2, the underarm and the rest of the body. All right, take care and finish up all and count everything. Make sure you count all your stitches when you're done increasing. See if you have the number. Hopefully that is close to what you have on your schematic. All right, stress-free. Stress-free zone. All right, so I have, just like you, been working off camera. So now I have, let's just take a check and go over everything and show you how we are still on step number 1 because the first tape was going to run too long. So we're still technically step 1. All right, and here's the check marks to show when we finish step 1 and go to the next step. First of all, I have cleared or have increased all my increases according to my little information sheet or the sheet. And it didn't get posted on this video, but it is on Top Down 101 in the first step, or I think it's how to find your numbers and make a plan. Okay. So anyway, whatever your increased number was, you know. So I've increased to that number, plus I did the increase without the yarn overs to finish up. And my numbers are just fine. Now the next, so we check that, okay? The next thing you want to do a check on is to let's count each section of your sweater. Do not count it all like in, just start here and count all around. No. You need to get your schematic, and we're going to count it every section to see how close. Hopefully you hit your number. I hit mine, but I want to go over. But do this for me. Because we have this really pretty lace, I want you not to start with the fronts. Do not count the fronts right now. Just trust me. Start with the sleeve. Count and see how many you had. I had 56. Then go to the back. I counted all the stitches in my back. Let me make sure that I forgot I got this. Maybe I should take it out of the... Here, I keep forgetting I have that plastic thing. Okay, do not count your fronts right now. I want you to start counting at the sleeve. So, see if you had the correct number that we were trying to get up to. I have 56 stitches for my sleeve. And I counted the opposite sleeve. I have 56. Okay, this is after I've done all my increases. We just finished that. Then you turn to the back. You count all your stitches across the back. I had 88 and what? And plus 1, remember? So if you start counting, you go, oh, Jay, I got a 1. No, remember you have that 1 stitch riding down the center back that was left over from the 1 by 1 ribbing at the neck. So I had 88 to reach, and then plus 1 for me. So whatever your number is. All right. Now I need to tell you about the fronts. This is a sharing moment. This is a learning moment. All right. So on my schematic, I needed to get up to 44 stitches on each side of my front. That's where I wanted to end. All right. So I counted. If you count your stitches, you're not going to have whatever your number is. I did not have 44. And now I'm going to tell you the reason why. And then how that you really do have the 44. But it's not there yet. It's invisible. So, Jay, what? Okay. All right. First of all, as we're knitting this lace is going in and out of stitches. Every row is changing the number of stitches on the row. You'll start out with 10, and then you'll have 12, or 15, or 13, and 12, back down to 11, and it just keeps going and on, going till we decide to stop the lace. Well, we're not going to stop it now, it's too early. But what I want you to do, or what I had to do, on my little worksheet that I printed off out of the out of the book. All right, row 14 is the end row of the lace. And if you look there on row 14, or on your, paper where you've written out the rows from my text, there are 13 stitches. When you work row 14, on each side of the lace, you will have 13 stitches. Okay, so this is how you're going to count wherever you are, wherever you have met all the requirements for your other stitches. On each front, you're going to just start and just pretend there's 13 stitches here, right here, even though we're not up to that 13, but you will eventually be up there. So I saw 13, slide the marker. Okay, now I count. All right, 14 on that side. You see that? Then 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, 34, 36, 38, 40, 42, 44. I needed to get to 44. But I don't have my 13 stitches here yet, but eventually it'll be there. So I just go ahead, whatever row that your work stopped on, you have to count from row 14, the stitch count at the end of the lace sequence, and that's row 14, and you will have 13 stitches. So that's where the count starts. Not from counting here and come across. You're going to come up short. And man, you're going to go, oh, Jay, what have I done? Well, you hadn't done anything. You're in the right place. All right. So, we finished counting all our different sections of our sweater. I finished the row, and then I had to purl back so that I could get back on the right side. Now, once I got on the right side again, I worked my lace, stay up with which row you're on your lace, work everything the same just like you've been working the sweater. Then I worked across the front. All my increases are done. I've closed off the holes down here. So now, this officially starts, like I said, step 2. I'm knitting up to my sleeve, up to the first sleeve, and I want you at this point, like I said, we want to get our number 9 16-inch circle of needles. Now we're going to transfer, because everything's done. I'm going to now, let's see if I've got a little, just to make sure. Now I don't want stitches stuff falling off, so I'm going to use a cap and cap that, so while I'm transferring, those stitches of the front won't slide off. Let me just check and make sure I'm in. Yep, okay. So, I just take my needle now. Now, on the first sweater, I did it with the scrap yarn. And then you come back later and pick it up. But this is one shortcut that I like to do. I was trying to, make sure I did it by the books and do the right thing. But I go ahead and use one of my 16-inch needles, and I go ahead and transfer my stitches right onto the needle. That's a step I'm going to save. You just wait when I come back to have this already on the needle and ready to go. So I'm just transferring all my sleeve stitches just like this. Because we're about to start work the underarm, and then after that we'll go to the body. But first, we're not working, we're just transferring these stitches. They're just going to be in place until we get ready to do the sleeve and the cuffs are step 3. So we are just now starting step 2. For some reason, saying a step 1, I don't know. I seem to have, I don't know. I don't seem to be so uptight about it. Then if I say part 1, I have no clue. So here we go. Just could be just a mind game thing. Who knows? All right. So I transfer all the stitches up to the next marker, which will represent. Of course, you can see that's the back of the sweater. So I just transfer when I get to that marker. Of course, I won't need it again. And then I should have a cap for this one, but I'll get one. And cap this sleeve off. Now, watch. Just save me a step. Now that I have these on my needle, so I will look for something. You can take a rubber band. I use these little pencil grips. I cut them in half. The kids use these. You get them at the Dollar Tree. And I just whack them in half, and then I can just run my needles up through there. Either way, scrap yarn or needles, you're going to have to work around it. But when I come back, they're ready to go. Now, I'm going to just bend that down. Now I can take this off, and voila! The sleeve is on. All the stitches are being held until we're ready to work the sleeve. Now I need to connect this front to this side of the back. And this is all we're going to do. Now, as I shared with you in the first sweater, just to help me remember things and just to, I don't know, just to use, I don't know, I just try to think through things in a common sense way. All right, for instance, on my schematic, for my sleeve, I started with 8 stitches. Well, it's a lot easier for me to remember. Why don't I just take one sleeve, the count for one sleeve, that's the number 8, and just divide it. So, on this, in this gap here, you see there's a large gap. I have to connect these. So I'm simply going to cast on 4 extra stitches right here. Now you can do, most people do the backwards loop cast on. That's where you take your thumb and just go under, slide the stitch on. I'm going to try to go up under, slide the stitch on. That'll work. Go up under, slide the stitch on. Does that make sense? Go up under, slide the stitch on. Okay. And last time I added an extra stitch, but I'm not even going to do that because like I said, I'm trying to make this easy to remember and simple for you to do. So now I have 4 stitches. Now, it's not a lot of stitches. A lot of my other sweaters I had as many as 8. But let me tell you, we're going to wind up with 8 because I'm going to show you something. All right. I cast on 4 stitches here, but when we get ready to actually do this arm space, this armhole here, right here, between the needle and this needle, there's a big gap. I added 1 stitch on before, but after I got my sweater done, I realized I really should have added 2 stitches. So to fill in this gap, we will add 2 stitches here and 2 stitches here on this side of the gap. Well, 2 and 2 is 4. And I have 4 here, so really I'm adding 8 stitches to each arm space. Does that make sense? So that's why I'm staying with the 4. So now all I have to do, make sure my yarn is in back, and I just start to knit. I just start to knit right on in the back. The other time I put an extra stitch on there, but I'm going to leave that off just so that your mind is clear simply what to do. I added 4 stitches or whatever your sleeve count. If your sleeve count is, I can't remember some of the, maybe 12 or something, I don't know. Then you just take one of the sleeve counts, divide it in half. So you'd put 6 here and 6 on the other side. But you're still going to have 2 stitches on each side once we start to work the sleeve. Those extra stitches will give you a little more wiggle room. So now I'm off. I am knitting across the back. I added 4 stitches. My sleeve is on a holder on another set of needles, so I just go right ahead and continue to knit across. All right, I'm going all the way across to the other sleeve, and I'm going to do the same thing. I will transfer the sleeves to another number 9, or you can use scrap yarn and a needle like I did in the first sweater. But if you get used to this, yes, you may have to buy some extra 9/16 needles. But if you're planning to, if you like the sweater, and you finally like, okay, Jay, I like this little sweater, and I'm getting the understanding of it, and I think I can do it. Well, then go ahead and get the equipment so that you can always be ahead. You're going to use it, so go ahead and just get what you need. And some extra 9/16s will come in mighty handy. And you don't have to wait on a needle to become clear. Alright, so hope that's not too jumbled up. I'm going to go across, transfer my other stitches from my sleeve to a number 9 needle, finish my lace. Alright, turn the work the lace on the wrong side just like we've been working, work across all the stitches and across the whole row. So when I come back, we will be working the body, because both underarm spaces will be connected to the back. just like I've shared here. All right, see you back shortly. All right, I'm back, and I wanted to show you my progress. As you can see, I went ahead, I just kept working off camera, and so now I want to tell you give you some information. All right, first of all, we just closed up our, cut off the arm hole there, and then you were just to start to knit back and forth. It's not in the round, but just back and forth, doing your lace, watching your lace rows. And I decided, like I said, to crop my sweater, so I'm only going to do 6 repeats of the pattern. I think I may have said 5 earlier, but it's really 6 repeats total. So what I have done is I'm working down, and I'm on the 5th repeat. It's on the 6th repeat, for me, because I'm short, that I will show you how to start the ribbing, and we will finish the bottom of the sweater. So if you're taller, you may say, well, I need 6 repeats, and then the 7th repeat will be my last repeat. Or I may need, depends on how long you want your sweater. But however many repeats you want, it's on the last repeat. For me, it's going to be number 6 that we will start the ribbing. But in the meanwhile, while I was off and I was reading messages, while I'm working on this, some of you just working right along on step 1, which is great. So, but someone asked me this question, and I said, oh man, I wish I should have added that in step 1, but I'm going to go ahead and add it here in step 2, because usually when you start a pattern like this, you're all excited. Everyone's so excited. And you're engaged, and your mind is made up, and you've got the equipment, and you're going to do it, and you're really excited. So you don't really make a lot of mistakes when you're starting, and you're following me step by step by step. Oh no, I got to do it just like Jay did it. But then after you get to this part, the long part of the body, by now, between life, working, school, children, cooking, life happens, and you do start to run out of speed. And you do get like, oh, Lord, look like I'm never going to get done with this sweater. I'm so excited. This is when you do start to make mistakes. This is always, even seasoned knitter like me, this is when I start making mistakes, because I am pushing my brain. I am pushing because I see the end in sight and I want to get to it. Well, this is when sometimes you need to just relax some. Like I said, I've said it over and over, and I'm letting my friends know this is not a race, this is not a contest. I put them on the YouTube and step by step so you can do it anytime. And so just relax and enjoy the journey. So I want to do this right quick. I am on row 4. Then I'll show you something. But I want to show you this. I'm on row 4, and her question was simply, I showed you a little earlier about if you made a mistake and had fallen asleep, and I showed you how to take the crochet hook and try to save it and not have to wind up pulling things back, because a beginner will always be a pull back. You don't want to become a pull back knitter. Every time you make a little mistake, you pull it back. Sometimes just fake it till you can make it, till you understand, or you'll never get past it. That's why we're not using expensive yarn, people. Enjoy the journey. See, I've been where you are, and and I can knit on up with, some of the best ones. But then I find myself enjoying sharing what I taught myself. So here we go. I want to show you. Now I'm going to pull in, because I'm going to show you this. So her question was, well, what happens if maybe fix one of the yarn over? She says, that makes me nervous. And by the time you're on this part of the sweater, the bottom half, believe me, even I start getting sleepy and dropping yarn overs. So, for instance, I am on row 4 of this of my work here, and on row 4, I should from row 2 I should have 15 stitches. I've just finished row 2, and I did the purl, so this will be the start of row 4. I'm gonna count my stitches: 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Well, if I just finished row 2, and if you look at row 2, you're supposed to have 15 stitches. All right, that's the first clue. before I even start row 4. Now I probably, just like I do, or just like you will probably do too, you will work row 4 and get down here and it won't end right and you'll know it's wrong. So I'm trying to head off. So already I know there's something wrong. Well, there's nothing wrong with row 4 because it's always a previous lace row, not the purl row. So row 2, the first thing I want you to look at, once you discover a mistake, before you go to ripping out and panicking, look to see on the row how many yarn overs were you supposed to have, because most of the time it's usually the yarn overs, or if you have a slip 1, knit 1, or knit 2, pass the slip stitch over. A lot of people forget to pass that slip stitch over, which will give you an extra stitch on the next pattern row. All right, 1 yarn over you drop, you'll have less stitches. I have less stitches. So let's count them on your, just look at your pattern, and I count just the yarn overs. I count 1, 2, 3. I should have 3 yarn overs from row 2. So let's go. Let's look here at your work. Now, even though I've purled the row, I still can tell the yarn overs because they will be stitches that are slanted. If you pull on them a little bit, you see they slant across the needle. So I can see 1 here. I'm supposed to have 3. If I look right here, I can see another one. See, it slants across like that. So there's 1. Okay, I'm going to move on over. I'm going to pull them down so if they slant, oops, now I don't see it. So now I'm going to go to row 2, and I'm just going to read it out. Okay, on row 2 it said knit 2, so there's that. Then knit 2 together. See, I'm just reading the stitches on this needle off my paper. There's a knit 2 together. See, I see the stitches there. Then a yarn over, okay. Then there's a knit 2 together. Let's see, can I do it right now? Knit 2, yarn over. All right, there's a yarn over. Knit 2 together, yarn over. Then there's a knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is off of row 2 now. Then there should be a yarn over and knit 4, but I don't have a yarn over and I don't have a knit 3. So I know that the yarn over is missing right here. And another thing that will clue you in, a yarn over, knitting is mathematical. It's just strictly mathematical equations that works. Most of the stitches or the yarn over, they're going to stack on top of each other. So I can pull that open and you can see how they just kind of stack on top of each other. Well, I can see right here, whoops, there's not one. I see I have the knit 4 here, and then I see that I have 1, 2, 3, 4. There should be another stitch here to make it 5, which will be the yarn over, and then, does that make sense? I hope I'm not botching it. But as you count the yarn over, you find the one that's missing because it's probably a yarn over. Now this is how you fix it. Real simple. So now let's read and work on the row that I am working on. I am working on row 4, but I dropped the stitch on row 2. But row 4, reading backwards because I'm on this side, it says knit 1. Okay, now I'm going to knit 2 together. I'm working row 4 backwards. Now yarn, let's see, yarn over. Now do it again, knit 2 together. Then do a yarn over again. Now knit 2. 1, 2. All right. Then I have a slip 1, knit 2 stitches together, reach back and make sure I pass that slip stitch over or I'm going to have another problem. Okay, then I should end on row 4 with knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I'm missing that stitch. The first thing I did, I put a marker there because you won't remember where it is. Now watch. This can be saved. You don't have to pull it out. Open your stitches up. Open the needles up like this. Look down, you're going to see 2 strands. See? So just reach down or reach under and just kind of wrap one strand around the other. You can do it with your fingers. If you can't do it with the needle, just do it with your fingers. like that. Just twist them. Reach down or reach under one. Or just, I like to go like this. Bring that up. Just twist them with each other and then pop that stitch onto this needle. Now, count your stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right? So now I can simply go ahead on row 4 and knit my 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, oops, and 5. Now I'm going to stop and count row 4 to see if I have the correct number of stitches. Should be 13 after you work the row, and we just finished working it. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13. I'm back in the game. Now, it may not look pretty, it may not be perfect. All you want to do is get the right stitch count. Like I said, you're learning, and sometimes we just have to move on. That's what I used to have to tell the seniors when I was teaching people that were more senior than me. Okay, you move on. You have to move on, or you'll never get past that mistake or whatever. So then I continue to knit on, on around to the other end. But does that make sense? I just had to add that in there because she asked a question. All right, now let me stop. I need to, I want to show you something so we can go right on and continue to work. This is, let me go back to the original sweater so you can see where we are and where we need to go, and then I can get there and you can too without even turning off this video. Okay, so here is my original sweater. For me, like I said, I am cropping these sweaters where I would normally go anywhere from 8 to 10 inches. From when I was doing bottom up, I am going, the whole length is from underarm to where at the end of the sweater is about 6 inches for me. So that means I did 5 repeats, and then on the last repeat, number 6 for me, is where we will start and do the ribbing. We will work the lace of the 6th repeat, row 1, and then we will go right into our ribbing here and work the ribbing the same number of rows as the lace. So I will have 14 rows of lace, of the lace pattern and knitting and all that, and then I'd have the same amount of stitches for my ribbing. Does that make sense? So what I want you to do is continue to work wherever you are, whatever row you're on, however many repeats you want, but I will meet you back at the last repeat, whatever number it is you want, however many numbers of repeats you want to do, at row 1. Row 1 is on the wrong side, remember? It starts on the wrong side. But I will meet you back at row 1, and we will actually set in and start our ribbing, and you're going to have this really wide, pretty rib knitting at the bottom. In fact, it will be a little wider than mine because I started mine. This was my first and my prototype, so I started it a little shorter, but you will still have a beautiful wider rib at the bottom. Does that make sense? All right, that's where we are. We're on the same page. Let's continue to knit, and I will be back shortly, and because I'm almost there, and I will see you at row 1 of your last repeat that you want on this sweater. Take care, and hopefully, you'll stay awake and don't lose any yarn overs. All right, so I'm back. I've been working off camera just like you, fast and furious. And after I went through that whole spiel about, being careful, this is the time, Jay just had about 3 major. I just had 3 major. I thought, no. But I did. At least I'm confessing up. So, I fixed whatever it was. I even had to pull back a little bit on one, but I'm back up, and now the rest of it, this is my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, this is what happened. next. So, just like you, there's just nothing on television. So I've been watching the same different movies over and over. Most of them, I can just almost recite some of the dialogue I've been watching. But I mainly listen to the music channel. And I'm telling you, I've listened to music genres and listened to people that I just, who knows. But anyway, so during that time, one of my favorite movies come on, one of the new ones, The Mountain Between Us. With Kate Winslet and Idris Elba. I love the movie. I really love the movie. But I love the soundtrack even more. So I had already put it on my desktop. I had already, so I could just play it whenever I want to. I just love that soundtrack. It is really, it's great. So I think I went past how many repeats. So that's okay. It doesn't matter. I was not going to do anything else as long as we're on row one of whatever repeat you want. Like I said, I was watching a movie and I've seen it. Since it's been out, out of the theater, I have seen it at least 6 times. This might have been my 7th time. I'll watch it on one network, and then how sometimes they'll have it on another network just starting. I'll turn over there and watch it again. Oh, because there is just nothing on. Anyway, so long story short, I am up to, and I hope, now let me check and see if I'm in the camera frame. All right, this is where I'm going to be working. Okay, so as you can see, no matter how many repeats you have, anyway, as long as you get to one where we are on row 1 together, and row 1 on this pattern is the wrong side. So, but at least you can see how pretty my sweater looks, and oh, that green's going to be pretty. I'll have a surprise for you later when the buttons I found. But anyway, let's see, can I pull in just a little bit now, just so that when I get ready. All right, so now, pull that up. And now we're down here, and I'm on row 1, and the row 1 is a wrong side start, the last repeat. So this will be my last repeat of the pattern. And row 1, it should remind you right away, well, that's just like how we started at the top with the neck ribbing. We were on row 1, and we worked that, and then we started our ribbing. So let me just work row 1 of this pattern. Remember, on the wrong side, you knit the first 2 stitches, then yarn in front, and then you purl over to the last 2 stitches. That was the wrong side. The way to work the wrong side of our lace stitch. So I'm just going to purl over to the last 2 stitches before the marker, one more. Alright, then I have to put my yarn in the back again, and I'll just knit those 2 stitches. I'm staying in pattern. Alright, now just like when we started at the top, remember we were on a wrong side row. So, in order to do the 1 by 1 ribbing, starting on the wrong side, I want to do a purl 1, knit 1, purl 1, knit, purl. So let's do a little bit of that. So I've got to put my yarn in front, slide the marker. Okay, now I'm going to purl, then knit, purl, and knit. That's just like when we started at the top. And you will continue, of course, across the row, and you can see it. You can really see it standing out on the front side. And you're going to, of course, follow it all the way around on your sweater and then come back on this end. And do you remember that 1 extra stitch? You should be okay because we left that stitch in. Remember, I let it ride down the center back, and because I knew we would need it when we got to the ribbing on this end. So, but just in case, just say something happens. Like I said, after what I've just been through, a nightmare, you come up short. Well, just knit into the front and back of a stitch somewhere. Or if you come in too many, just knit 2 together. Just as long as you end. When I get on this side, I started with a purl on the ribbing. So when I come around to this side, I should knit and then end with a purl stitch. And then fall right in in line with my lace pattern, just as I did on this side. So as long as you end with a purl, because we started with a purl on this purl row. And then of course when we turn the work, we'll work row 2 of the lace, and then of course on this side you can read the stitches. It's knit, purl, and you're going to continue working your ribbing down to row 10 of our last repeat. This is our last repeat, so you need to go to row 10, which is a right side row, work that row and stop. That's where I will meet you back, and because we're going to stop the lace after we finish working row 10. Work row 10. You will be on row 11 on the wrong side. That's where I will meet you back, and we will go ahead and start stopping this lace, but we will still be, finishing our ribbing. Does that make sense? Okay, I guess I'll go and watch The Mountain Between Us again. Start it over. But this time we're ending. So we'll see you back in just a few. Take care. All right. I'm back after knitting a bit and doing other things. And before we get started, because I'm going to be able to walk you through this last little section until we get ready to bind off. But how many of you noticed that as we finished knitting the body and we started our ribbing, that we did not change our needle to a number 8? And I usually like to stay on my number 9s when I'm doing my sweaters, so that because the number 8 would cause we already have a lot of 1x1 ribbing. Of course, that pulls in, and then by doing it on a number 8 at the bottom makes it even tighter. So that's why, just if you hadn't thought about it, or maybe you wonder, oh, are we supposed to change to number 8s like we started at the top? No, stay on your number 9s and just completely, finish the whole body and the bottom ribbing. Unless we're doing some other pattern, but no, the number 9s are just fine. All right, now, you were supposed to work down to row 10. So now I'm going to walk you through a little bit so that so we can get this bound off and I can get this step 2 up to you. All right, so row 10 is a right side. It was a right side row, and we simply worked the pattern. Row 11 was a wrong side row. And on row 11, I want you to knit. I want you to knit every stitch of the lace, but then keep the 1x1 ribbing around to the other side, and then knit the lace. Knit every stitch. We are closing off the lace, and we'll just simply knit that row 11 because it's on the wrong side. Now, when you finish row 11, of course, row 12 is the right side. And again, you will not work the lace anymore. You knit every stitch again, and then continue in the 1x1 ribbing around, just like you finished, and then knit on this side, which will bring us to row 13. 13 is a wrong side row, and this is the row that we are going to bind off. So I can just talk you through that much. So here we are. I've worked down to 10, like I said, and then I've shared row 11 and 12. You just knit those 2 rows in the lace section, but now maintain the 1x1 ribbing. And so now, on row 13, on the wrong side, we will start to bind off all our stitches, and I'm simply going to knit 1, knit 2, reach back and bind off. I'm binding off the lace. Knit another stitch, reach back, and bind off. It was enough of the lace, and the edge will look really nice and just real simple. We didn't need any fancy stitches than just a simple bind off of the lace. And that's all. And I like to bind off as much as possible on the wrong side. Don't ask me why. To me, it just looks nicer because that little funny row or line of stitches is on the wrong side. Of course, now that's just me. So continue to bind off your knitting. Bind off in knitting on the lace. not purl, but just knit. And reach back and pull the stitch over. Now I can get rid of my marker. Now in the 1x1 ribbing, of course you have to stay in pattern. So the first stitch I see is a purl, so I had to put my my yarn in front, and then I bind off. Yarn in back, knit that stitch, then bind off. Yarn in front, purl that stitch, and then bind off. Keep it loose, knit, purl, knit, purl. Let's just take a look. Now I'm going to pull up a loop a little bit just so that we can take a look. So now this is what you will end with. A nice little clean edge for your lace. Is that on camera good? A nice clean edge, and then the 1x1 rib, of course, will stay in pattern. And see, it just, you don't get that little funny edge. At least that's what I call it. I don't know. But there you have it. So finish row 10, you knit row 11 and 12, and you bind off in row 13 the lace in a knit stitch, and then just stay in pattern. Alright, so as I work around, you're going to continue just to work around and come back to this side, and you're binding off all your stitches. And guess what? That will complete step 2, the underarms and the body. Now I've got to race to get to my sleeves and the cuffs. The fun part. So what do you think about that? What do you think about the look of it? Let's see if I need to back out a little bit, so you can see how my sweater is looking. Isn't that pretty? So, alright, why don't you finish that? Just do a nice job on your bind off. Just make sure you don't pull it too tight. And just take your time with it. And it still should have a nice little stretchy to it if you don't bind off, if you keep it loose as you go around. Alright, that's it for step 2. Alright, I'm going to let you work. I will start the sleeve, which will be our step 3. And my gosh, so excited. I hope you're liking this. I hope you're enjoying your journey. And like I say, just relax. Take your time. We're not in a race, and this is not a contest. Everybody will get the prize when it's over. All right. Have fun. See you shortly. I'm going to start working on my sleeves.